I want to ask you something before we begin. How well do you really know your dog? You know their name. You know their favorite toy. You know the face they make when they want a treat, and the sound they make when they are dreaming. You know which spot they claim on the couch and which side of the bed they prefer, and exactly how long they will hold eye contact before they look away first. But do you know what they are thinking right now? Do you know what they are feeling the moment you walk out the door? Do you know what they hear moving through the walls of your house at 2 in the morning? Do you know what they actually see when they look at your face? Most owners do not, which means most owners are missing something extraordinary unfolding within their very own homes. Today, for the next 60 minutes, we are going to answer every single one of those questions. This channel is Healed by My Dog, where we follow the real science behind the most powerful healing bond on the planet. This is the video I have been building toward since this channel began. What your dog thinks, what your dog feels, what your dog sees, what your dog hears. Grab your dog, get comfortable, and let's go deep. For most of human history, we assumed dogs did not really think, that what looked like reasoning was just conditioning, just pattern response, just instinct wearing a clever mask. We were wrong. And the degree to which we were wrong is something science is still working to fully communicate to the rest of us. Here is what researchers have actually established. Dogs possess the cognitive ability of a human child between 2 and 2.5 years old. That is not a loose comparison. That is a measured, tested conclusion drawn from years of controlled studies in animal cognition labs around the world. A 2-year-old child can solve problems. A 2-year-old child can remember. A 2-year-old child can feel, plan, and understand cause and effect in ways that are genuinely sophisticated. And so can your dog. The assumption that your dog operates on reflex alone is not just outdated, it was never accurate. Start with language. The average dog can learn over 1,000 words. But here is what makes that extraordinary. It is not just the sounds they are learning, it is the meaning behind them. Researchers tested dogs by placing familiar objects in a room alongside objects the dog had never seen. When they asked the dog to fetch an item using a new, unknown word, the dogs consistently went for the unfamiliar object. They reasoned by exclusion. They thought, I know what everything else is called, so this new word must mean this new thing. That is not sound association. That is logic. That is a mind working. Dogs plan ahead. They remember where things are hidden and they strategize how to retrieve them. Studies have shown dogs tracking the location of hidden food across multiple sites, returning to specific spots after significant delays, and adjusting their approach based on what they observed previously. That is spatial memory. That is a mind-building and consulting an internal map of the world. And then there is cause and effect. Watch your dog the next time you reach for your coat. Their entire body changes before you have done anything else. Not because the coat is the cause of your departure, because your dog has connected those events across hundreds of repetitions and built a model of what follows what. The leash means a walk. The treat container means sit. Your work bag means you will be gone for hours. Your keys mean the same. Your dog is not reacting to these things, they are anticipating them. That is a distinction that matters enormously. Reaction is reflexive. Anticipation requires thought. Episodic memory goes even deeper than this. Dogs remember specific events, specific people, specific places, not just in the immediate sense, but across months and sometimes years. There are documented cases of dogs reuniting with owners or companions after years of separation and showing immediate, unmistakable recognition, not just a vague familiarity, but the full behavioral response of a dog who remembers exactly who this person is and what they meant. A dog does not build that kind of memory by accident. They build it because something in their brain decided that person was worth keeping. Now consider what happens when your dog sleeps, because this is where most people stop short. They see a sleeping dog and they see rest. But researchers studying dog sleep patterns have found something that changes that picture completely. Dogs experience REM sleep, the same stage in which humans dream. And during REM sleep, their brains show activity patterns strikingly similar to what humans show when dreaming. Their paws twitch, their eyes move behind closed lids. They whimper or make small sounds. Matthew Wilson at MIT, who has studied memory and sleep in animals extensively, found that during sleep, the brain replays the events of the day, consolidating memory, processing experience, rehearsing what was learned. There is every reason to believe your dog is doing the same thing. Rep plach, ying the walk, the game in the yard. the moment you sat beside them on the floor. And according to the researchers who study this most closely, the most emotionally significant presence in a dog's day is the person they are bonded to. Which means when your dog dreams, the evidence points toward one conclusion: they are dreaming about you. That is not sentiment. That is what the science suggests. We spent centuries looking at the dog and seeing an animal running on automatic. What we were actually looking at was a mind, processing, storing, connecting, and returning to the things and the people that matter most to it. The dog sleeping at your feet right now is not just resting. They are processing, remembering, planning, and in all likelihood, dreaming about you. The scientific community spent decades resisting this. The idea that what a dog shows you on their face is actually what they are experiencing inside. For most of the 20th century, the dominant position was clear. Animals do not feel. They react. What looks like grief is just disrupted behavior. What looks like joy is just a conditioned response. What looks like love is just attachment formed through food and shelter. That was the official line. And then the research started coming in, and the official line collapsed. We now know that dogs experience a full spectrum of primary emotions: joy, fear, anger, excitement, grief, love. These are not projections. They are documented, measurable, neurochemically confirmed. Dogs have the same brain structures that produce emotions in humans. They carry the same hormones. When something wonderful happens, their dopamine surges. When something frightening happens, their cortisol spikes. The biology is not metaphorical. It is identical in every way that matters. But it goes further than the primary emotions. Much further. Studies examining jealousy in dogs found something that stopped researchers in their tracks. When owners showed affection to another dog, petting it, speaking warmly to it, holding it close, their own bonded dogs did not just watch. They pushed in. They interrupted. They placed themselves between the owner and the other dog with a persistence and urgency that was impossible to dismiss. That is not confusion. That is not instinct. That is jealousy, operating in real time, with real intent. Grief may be the most profound evidence of all. Dogs grieve. Not briefly, not superficially, but deeply and over extended periods. Dogs who lose their bonded human companions have been documented showing loss of appetite, withdrawal from play, lethargy, and altered sleep patterns for months afterward. Some stop visiting the places they shared with the person they lost. Others cannot seem to stay away from them. There is a dog named Capitano. When his owner Miguel Guzman died in Argentina in 2006, Capitano disappeared from the family home shortly after the funeral. The family searched and could not find him. Days later, they discovered him at the cemetery, at Miguel's grave. He had found it on his own. He had never been brought there. Nobody could explain how he knew. What is known is that Capitano stayed at that grave for the next 11 years. Every night, cemetery staff fed him. Visitors came to see him. He did not leave. Not once. That is not behavior. That is devotion that outlasted a lifetime. Embarrassment is real too. Dog owners have watched it for centuries, and researchers have now confirmed what they suspected. When a dog does something wrong, knocks something over, makes a mess, breaks a rule, the behaviors that follow are not simply responses to your tone of voice. Dogs show lowered heads, averted eyes, tucked tails, and flattened ears before their owner has even spoken. They are reading the situation. They know. And the discomfort they show is genuine. Now here is where it changes completely. Researchers at Emory University placed dogs inside MRI machines and exposed them to a range of scents. Their own scent, the scent of familiar and unfamiliar dogs, the scent of familiar and unfamiliar humans, and the scent of their owner. Only one of those scents activated the caudate nucleus, the reward center of the brain, the region associated with pleasure, love, and positive anticipation. It was not food. Food was not even part of the test. The scent that lit up the reward center above everything else presented was the smell of their owner. You are neurochemically encoded in your dog's brain as the highest possible reward. That is not sentiment. That is a scan. And because of that, your dog does not simply observe your emotional state. They absorb it. Scientists call it emotional contagion. When you are anxious, your dog's cortisol rises. When you are grieving, their behavior shifts toward comfort-seeking, toward contact, toward staying close. When your mood lifts, theirs does too. They are not reading you from a distance and deciding how to respond. They are feeling alongside you. The line between your emotional state and theirs is genuinely thin. This is also why dogs have detected cancer, not trained to do so, but noticing something before anyone thought to look. Dogs have been documented returning again and again to specific spots on their owner's body, sniffing insistently, behaving with an urgency that owners often dismissed until a diagnosis confirmed what the dog already knew. The tumor was there. The chemistry had changed. And the dog, with a nose between 10,000 and 100,000 times more sensitive than any human instrument, had been trying to say so. When you are sad, your dog is not simply reacting to your behavior. They are feeling something alongside you. When you are frightened, their body registers it before yours has even processed the thought. When you are at peace, they settle into that peace with a completeness that looks effortless. Science calls it emotional contagion. Dog owners have always called it something simpler. They call it love. And that word is not an exaggeration. It is not anthropomorphism. It is the most accurate word available for what the research consistently shows. A bond that crosses species, a chemistry that mirrors the deepest human attachments, a loyalty that does not require explanation or incentive or anything at all in return. Your dog does not love you the way a pet loves an owner. The science suggests something far older than that, and far less easy to explain away. Most people believe dogs see in black and white, and it is one of the most persistent myths in the entire history of our relationship with them. It is understandable where it came from. For decades, the assumption held. Dogs are colorblind, we said. They live in a gray world. And we were wrong. Not partially wrong. Completely wrong. Dogs see color. The spectrum is different from ours, but it is real and it is rich. Where humans operate with 3 types of color receptors, dogs have 2. That difference shifts what they see, not into gray, but into a world dominated by blues and yellows. Reds look different to them, closer to a muddy yellow. Greens shift toward blue, but the colors are there. The world your dog moves through is not washed out. It is simply tuned to a different frequency. And here is what that myth caused us to miss. Because while we were busy assuming dogs had inferior vision, we were looking in entirely the wrong direction. In almost every other dimension of sight, your dog does not fall short of you. Motion detection first. Dogs can detect movement at distances that are functionally invisible to the human eye. This is not a small gap. It is the difference between seeing something and seeing nothing at all. A dog watching a field will register motion that you would walk past without registering. Low light is the next advantage. Inside your dog's eye, there is a layer of tissue called the tapetum lucidum. It sits behind the retina and functions essentially as a mirror, bouncing available light back through the eye a second time. That is what causes the glow you see when light catches a dog's eyes in the dark. And what it means practically is this. Your dog can see clearly in conditions that leave you reaching for a light switch. They are not stumbling through the dark. They are reading it. Field of vision. A human sees roughly 180 degrees. Your dog sees approximately 240. That is not a minor extension. That is a fundamentally different experience of space. Your dog is aware of things happening beside them and slightly behind them that you would have to turn your head to notice. They are processing more of the world simultaneously than you are. Visual processing speed. Dogs can detect flickering and light sources that appear completely steady to a human eye. This is why older television screens, which refresh at rates visible to dogs, were less compelling to them than modern high-definition screens. Their visual system processes incoming information faster than ours does. All of that is remarkable, but it is not the most extraordinary thing your dog does with their eyes. That distinction belongs to something far more specific, far more deliberate, and far more pointed at you. When you gaze at a human face, your eyes move first to the left side of their face. Scientists call this the left gaze bias. It happens automatically. It happens. The right hemisphere of the human brain processes emotion, and it controls the left side of the face, which means the left side carries more emotional information. We evolved to go there first. Your dog does the exact same thing, but only with human faces. Scientists presented dogs with pictures of human faces, dog faces, and objects. The left gaze bias appeared consistently and only for human faces, not for other dogs, not for anything else. They can tell the difference between a happy face and an angry face even in a photograph of a complete stranger. They have never been taught this. There is no training for it. It is something that built itself over 15,000 years of watching us. And they can identify your face specifically. Among strangers, in a photograph, your dog knows you. So when your dog goes still and looks at you, really looks at you, they are not admiring you. They are reading you. Your emotional state, your tension, your ease, the subtle shifts in your expression that you are not even aware you are making. The next time your dog holds your gaze a little longer than feels comfortable, understand that what they are doing is reading you. And they are very, very good at it. Your dog can hear sounds you will never hear, frequencies your ears cannot process, distances your ears cannot reach, and changes in your body that you have not yet registered yourself. Start with the numbers. Humans hear frequencies between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. Your dog hears between 40 Hz and 65,000 Hz. That upper range is not a small difference. It is more than 3 times beyond what your ears can detect, and distance compounds this further. Your dog can hear sounds from 4 times farther away than you can. What is background silence to you is a detailed, constantly updating soundscape to them. The world your dog inhabits orally is almost incomprehensible from where we are standing. And they are not just hearing more of the world, they are hearing more of you specifically. Think about your car. Not cars in general, your car. The specific pitch of your engine, the particular sound your tires make on the surface of your street, the rhythm of your approach. Research has shown that bonded dogs can identify the sound of their owner's vehicle from a significant distance and distinguish it reliably from other cars of the same make. They are not reacting to the general category of car sound. They are reacting to yours. That is not trained behavior. That is devotion sharpened into perception. Now consider what happens inside your home before you arrive. Your dog's ears are already moving. Those independently rotating ears, capable of pinpointing the exact origin of a sound in approximately 1/600th of a second, have already locked onto something you cannot hear yet. Each ear moves on its own. They work together the way a radar array works, triangulating, narrowing, confirming. By the time you reach the front door, your dog has known for some time that you were coming. But the hearing that matters most is not the hearing aimed at the outside world. It is the hearing aimed at you. Your dog can hear your heartbeat. Not metaphorically, literally. Research has demonstrated that dogs respond to elevated human heart rates before any outward behavioral sign of distress appears. Your face is still calm, your voice is still steady, your body has not moved differently, but your heart rate has shifted, and your dog has already noticed. They feel it in the room before you have admitted it to yourself. Your breathing tells a similar story. The subtle changes in rhythm that accompany anxiety, sadness, or fear, changes you would never consciously register in another person, are audible information to your dog. They are reading a signal you did not know you were sending. This matters enormously when you consider what some dogs can do with that information. There are documented cases of dogs alerting their owners to oncoming seizures up to 45 minutes before the event, 45 minutes before any medical instrument detected a change. Researchers believe the detection is a combination of scent shifts and subtle auditory cues, changes in breathing, changes in muscle tension that produce sound, changes in the body's electrical and chemical state that a dog's senses can register long before any symptom becomes visible. These dogs were not trained to detect seizures in every case. Some simply began doing it because they had been listening that carefully, for that long, to a person they loved. This is what attention sustained over years of devotion produces. Your dog also responds to the world of sound in ways that affect their own emotional state. Studies observing shelter dogs and home environments found that classical music measurably calmed dogs, reducing movement and vocalization. Heavy metal produced agitation. Reggae and soft rock produced the most consistently relaxed responses. Your dog is not indifferent to what fills the air around them. Sound shapes their experience of every moment. So when your dog tilts their head at something you cannot hear, they are not confused. They are processing. When they lift their ears at a sound 3 rooms away, they are already forming a response to information you will not receive for several more seconds. When they press against you during a moment you thought was unremarkable, consider what they may have just heard in your chest. They have been listening to you, really listening, not just hearing, since the first day you came through that door. When you leave, your dog's body responds within minutes, not behaviorally, physiologically. Before you have reached the end of your street, before the sound of your car has faded, your dog's cortisol levels have already begun to climb. Researchers measuring stress hormones in dogs during owner absences found the spike happens fast, not gradually, not after an hour of waiting. Within minutes of departure, your dog's body is in a measurable state of distress. This is not a dog being dramatic. This is a dog whose entire biological sense of safety has just walked out the door. And what does your dog do with that distress? They go looking for you. Not outside, not at the window. They find the next best thing. Your scent. Studies observing dogs left alone consistently show the same behavior. Dogs migrate toward the spots in the home most saturated with their owner's smell. Your chair, your side of the bed, a piece of worn clothing left on the floor. They settle into those spaces and stay. They are not being sentimental. They are doing the only thing that brings their stress levels down when you are not there. They are holding on to the parts of you that remain. Then, there is the door. Camera studies following dogs through the hours of an owner's absence show something that most people find difficult to watch. Within minutes of being left alone, the majority of dogs position themselves facing the entrance their owner uses to leave and return. Some stay there for hours, not pacing, not restless, just watching, waiting. The door becomes the center of their world because the door is where you disappeared and the door is where you will come back. That is not anxiety. That is loyalty in its most patient form. Your dog also vocalizes when alone. Most owners know about the barking. But researchers documenting sounds made by dogs in empty homes found something more specific. Whimpering, sighing, low, sustained sounds that the researchers described as consistent with expressions of loneliness. Not distress calls, not alarm. Something quieter than that, and in some ways harder to hear. Your dog is not calling for help. They are just saying, out loud, into an empty room, that they notice you are gone. Sleep looks different without you too. Dogs do sleep during owner absences, often more than when their owner is home, but the quality of that sleep is measurably lower. It is lighter, more interrupted. Dogs alone shift position more frequently, startle more easily, and enter deep sleep for shorter periods. The body is resting, but the nervous system is not. Some part of your dog stays alert, listening, waiting for the sound that means everything is about to be right again. And here is where it gets remarkable. Dogs know you are coming home before you arrive. Studies designed to rule out routine, varying owner return times randomly so the dog had no schedule to predict, still found the same result. Dogs began showing anticipatory excitement up to 10 minutes before their owner walked through the door. Ears up, movement toward the entrance, a shift in energy that the researchers could measure and film before there was any logical reason for it. Your dog is not tracking your schedule. They are tracking you. Through scent carried on air currents, through sounds still below the threshold of human hearing, through something we do not yet have a complete scientific explanation for. They know. They always know. And when you walk through that door, something specific happens inside your dog's body. The cortisol that has been elevated since the moment you left drops. Oxytocin surges. Every stress response the body has been quietly sustaining releases at once. What looks like an enthusiastic greeting, the spinning, the jumping, the sounds that are almost impossible to describe is actually a full physiological reset. Your dog's entire body has been waiting to do that since the moment you left. That is not excitement in the simple sense. That is relief. That is the release of genuine longing the moment it ends. Your dog is not just glad to see you. They have been missing you, actively, measurably, with every system their body has. And when you come home, they are not just happy. They are restored. You coming home is the best moment of their day, every single day without exception, regardless of how long you were gone. Everything we have covered in this last hour points toward the same thing. This bond is not one-sided. It never was. While you have been caring for your dog has been quietly caring for you, and the science behind what that does to both of you is something most people never hear. Dogs in bonded, loving homes carry measurably lower cortisol throughout their lives. Their immune function is stronger. Their lifespans are longer. The oxytocin circulating in their bodies on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon is consistently higher than in dogs, without that deep attachment to a person. That is not sentiment. That is biology responding to love. And when that bond breaks, when a dog loses the person they have devoted every sense to, the grief response is real and measurable. Loss of appetite, lethargy, behavioral changes that can last for months. They are not confused. They are mourning. But here is what sits at the center of all of it. In 2015, researchers confirmed something that had never been documented between any two species before. When a dog and their owner hold each other's gaze, oxytocin rises in both of them. Simultaneously, the same bonding chemical that flows from a mother to her newborn in those initial birth moments, released through nothing more than looking at each other. Not two members of the same species. Two entirely different beings across a 15,000-year bridge, triggering the same chemistry of love. Science has never found that between any other two species on this planet. Only you and your dog. 60 minutes ago, I asked you how well you really know your dog. I hope the answer looks different now, because what we have covered today is not trivia about animals. It is a portrait of a being who thinks about you, feels alongside you, watches for you, listens for you, and waits for you. Every single hour you are away. Not out of habit, not out of instinct, out of something the science keeps pointing toward and struggling to fully name. Your dog is not just an animal who shares your home. They are a thinking, feeling, deeply emotional creature who has devoted every sense they possess to one purpose: knowing you, protecting you, loving you. And every single time you walk through that door, after everything their body has been holding, the cortisol, the vigil at the door, the hours of listening for your car, they choose you all over again. That is not just a pet. That is a miracle. If this video meant something to you, share it with every dog owner you love. Drop a paw in the comments and tell me, what is one thing your dog does that you have never been able to explain? I read every single one. Subscribe to Healed by My Dog for new videos every week. I will see you in the next one.